When I made this channel, I said I'd have a somewhat consistent upload schedule. I think it's been about 2 weeks since I last uploaded. So I was in DC for a little bit, and then I've been sick for my time back home. So I've been kind of just a beautiful, chaotic mess for a little bit. So took that time just to recover and just see some good friends out there. And since coming back from DC and being sick for a little bit, I've realized I've been able to value the time that I have by myself, where I just spend being alone, just doing what I do, just working on my stuff, or just like passing away time or whatever I do. But I've been able to appreciate the moments I have just alone and away from people. And throughout my youth and growing up, I really struggled with finding that sort of ability to be comfortable with being by myself. So I figured I'd take some time and talk about this topic a little bit, because I'm sure some people relate to it in a sense, or just feel like they're not very comfortable being alone, and you go to different things and you feel you have the need to distract yourself constantly to avoid that feeling of being alone, which is kind of something I wanted to touch upon with my last video about social media, but we're doing it here today, so even better. I'm still a little sick, by the way, so if my voice sounds kind of off, bear with me, but we're going to get through this one. So a good way for me to explain the points I'm trying to make here is I want to talk about the difference between being alone and being lonely, because there is a very big difference, at least from my experience. Being alone, from the ways in which I would describe it, is a physical state of being by yourself. I'm currently alone. I'm home alone right now. There's no one else in this room with me that I know. So I think like that'd be a state of being alone. To be lonely is an emotional state, I would say. It's a state of sadness or depression, really, and it often is a negative emotion most of the time. I'm sure some of you have experienced one side or both of these at some point in your life, as it's kind of an inevitable feeling you're going to have ultimately, and just a state you're going to find yourself in at some point in time. I would say, especially growing up and not really having much of a social circle around me, I grew up rather lonely, I guess, or I just didn't really have many people to talk about my emotions with and whatnot, and that really lingered on me in a state of being alone and lonely. It kind of fluctuated between the two for a while. I think I felt very misunderstood or like disconnected from the outside world. I wasn't very involved in certain activities outside of school or just any clubs or whatnot. I kind of just went to school, did my thing, came back home, do what I do. Like that was kind of just my daily routine, and I didn't have much more than that, to be honest. As time went on, I got a better sense of who I was as a person. My social setting kind of figured itself out. I got more active in certain things, so it kind of just figures itself out throughout time, or at least it did for me. Because of that, I was less lonely as a result, and I think a lot of that is because I wasn't isolated nearly as much, which, speaking of which, I'll talk about that just a little bit here. Isolation is kind of a scary thought. It's more or less the idea of it's being physically alone, but it has the mental state of being lonely, if that makes sense. It is being completely cut off from the outside world, or feeling a sense of disconnect and being literally disconnected from the outside world. I'm sure a lot of people felt that way when COVID came around. I remember just sitting in my room, just doing homework on my computer, and I wouldn't go out and see any of the friends I had at the time, just because like my parents didn't want to, their parents didn't want to. It was a weird time for everyone, but I found myself being very isolated within that period of time, and it just wasn't great for my overall health. And that's a state of isolation that really isn't my fault or anyone else's fault. We were all trying to adapt to the world around us and get a sense of what this virus was that we were up against. So it's really hard to blame anyone for so many people being isolated by themselves, but it definitely had a toll on me and a lot of other people I know and their mental health throughout this period of time. From what I know, most people do not choose to be isolated. On some levels, it can be a good thing, but most often than not, it's a bad thing for people. And for most, I'd imagine you'd want to find sort of a place of solitude, if nothing else. From my personal experience, solitude is kind of the same idea as being isolated, but it's like in the same mentality as being alone, as in you are by yourself, but you are being productive. You're working on yourself. You're doing like things that are good and helpful for you and whatnot. It's a place of actively choosing to separate yourself from the rest of the world and focus on yourself, to take some time away to look back and think fondly, and just it's like a rest period, and that's kind of what I've been in for a little bit now, especially being back from DC. But I think that's kind of the end goal that a lot of people look for when coming back from something and wanting to be by themselves, is that you want to find yourself within a positive state of mind at the end of the day. And it's more or less the way in which you approach that. If you are doing things that are beneficial to you while you're by yourself, then you're going to be in a place of solitude. If you're not really doing so, you're going to be in a place of isolation. It's all about what you're doing within this period of time, how you take advantage of it or don't take advantage of it. From my understanding of things, solitude is a positive attribute and outlook to things, and isolation is more of a negative outlook to a state of being alone or by yourself. So it really comes down to the way in which you think about this, the way in which you absorb this opportunity to be by yourself. And if you're not really used to that, it's very easy to get wrapped up in the negative attributes of that. For a while, I used to do meditation, and on some level, I come back to it every now and then. There's a period of time where I do it for 2 weeks on and then a week off or something like that. And what I found out is that after the first week, being by yourself for just 5 minutes, you got no music, no background, no nothing. Your mind will start to talk for you and kind of fill that void. And it doesn't always say the things you want to hear. It's going to tell you to give up on this. This is stupid. This is dumb. You could be doing other things. You could fill distractions with anything else around you. It's more or less something that I realized that I kind of struggle with. Because of that, I really didn't know how to think or feel about doing this, because I know that my mentality is going to be a certain way towards it. Because if you just fill yourself with constant distractions all the time and then you take yourself away from it, that's kind of scary, to be honest, because now you're actually looking at the ways in which you think about yourself and the negative attributes you see within yourself if you don't take that time to be by yourself. In many ways for me, I have found being alone to be a negative attribute to my life, or being lonely as a negative thing throughout my life. I haven't always had the best experience with it, and it's kind of something you have to learn through time and just understanding with the way in which you operate within your own day-to-day life. I think for a lot of people, we turn to things like social media or other outlets for us as a way of distracting ourselves from the fact that we are alone right now, or when you are in a current state of being alone, you look to different things to distract yourself from it so you don't have to face the fact that you are ultimately by yourself at this point in time. Because truth be told, silence is kind of scary on its own. It's not something we're very used to. And especially the more and more you experience it, your mind will start to think for itself. And if you're not used to that, it may not be things that you ultimately like to hear. I think a lot of the reason I was lonely instead of being alone is that I didn't really have a good understanding of who I was as a person. Now that I've kind of matured and figured it out a little bit, I've been able to appreciate being alone, but also just understand how I operate while being alone. So it's been a beneficial thing for me for the most part, just growing up and maturing. And that's kind of the same advice I give for anyone, is just take time away to be by yourself and appreciate the things that you do, or just focus on other things that you have to do if you can't just sit there and be alone with your own thoughts, because that is a scary thing to do. But if it is something you can do, go for it. It's good to understand the way in which you operate. It can be a very big self-realization moment of, this is the way in which I think about myself. I should probably change something or switch my mentality about it. But there are ways in which you can do so that maybe I don't have the full insight on, because I'm a 19-year-old and I don't know that much about the world. I'm just sitting here talking about things just because I want to. Seems fitting to me. So I think the best way to respond to being alone is to understand how in which you will operate within it, and taking the things that you get from that, the negative attributes you find within it, and finding ways in which you can change that. Sure, you're not going to be successful right away, but it's sort of figuring out through trial and error, just seeing, okay, what works best for me while I'm by myself. And you can be able to find that place of solitude rather than just being stuck in isolation for a period of time. that's kind of all I got for today. It's kind of just a simple get back into the swing of things of a whatever habit I'm trying to build through uploading. So feel free to comment, subscribe, whatever, all that jazz. I don't really care, to be honest. I'm just doing this for fun. But if you wish to support and help out, I'd appreciate that. Or just if you have anything else to add on and whatnot, I'd appreciate advice or just things in which you've experienced or things of that nature. Whatever. I'm open to I'm open to ideas, whatnot. So other than that, that's really all I got for today. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure to do something healthy today, whatever that may be. Just something good for you. And yeah, that's really about it. See ya.